Tornado warnings, getting your safe place. Okay, so I'm sorry, there is no tornado warning, but I wanted to share with you how fast you do need to move when you do hear about tornado warnings. If you're moving to Nashville, Tennessee, you may well have heard that we do have a lot of tornadoes. Now, obviously, anytime there is some kind of big Mother Nature occurrence, it's tragic. But I do want to explain a little bit to you about what is a tornado, how often we have it, and give you some statistics. But be sure to hold around to the end because I'm going to show you how to find the safe place that you and your family can be as safe as possible in the midst of a tornado warning or, God forbid, a tornado touches down. So, see ya. Nashville is not in what is technically called Tornado Alley. That's in the Great Plains. But we have had our share of tornadoes and tornadic activity because of our location. Since records have been kept in 1830, we have had a total of 469 registered tornadoes in the Middle Tennessee area. Now, Middle Tennessee area in Old Hickory is where the Weather Bureau comes out of. Old Hickory, Tennessee, which is east of Nashville. Since then, those tornadoes have been registered. Since the 70s, we now have Doppler radar, which is far superior in tracking tornadoes. Now, what exactly is a tornado? A tornado is when cold air, cold, dry air, and warm, moist air, I hate that word. Let me know in the comments, is there a word that really just gives you the creeps? Moist is one of those words to me. But anyway, cold, dry air, moist, wet air collide. When they collide, the cold air kind of envelops it, the moist is in the middle. That propels the wind shear up. And a tornado is actually when the cumulus cloud, the wind shear and the tornado revolution actually touches the top of the cumulus cloud and the ground. That's when a tornado is talked about as touching ground. Now, you're going to hear a lot of things about tornado watches and tornado warnings. It doesn't mean they've touched the ground. It just means it's up in the atmosphere. Tornadoes typically occur in rural areas where once they come down, they're unobstructed. That wind doesn't cause a bounce. So when it hits buildings, that causes a bounce back up into the atmosphere. Cities typically see less tornadoes as far as touching down than some of the more rural areas of all the counties. Let's talk about the difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. Again, back to that Doppler system. When we have a tornado watch or warning, when there is severe thunderstorms possibility in the Middle Tennessee area, first of all, you're going to start getting those warnings 24 hours in advance, and it becomes constant. For example, people often get irritated because their favorite shows are preempted for around-the-clock watching of that. So you certainly have good notice that conditions are such that we could have some severe thunderstorms. Some severe thunderstorms can turn into, if that situation that I mentioned happens, and that's when you get into the warning situation. A tornado warning means we expect to have or having severe thunderstorms, and there is the possibility that could become a tornado if all the conditions are right. Now, a warning means, yes, there is one, and we may have seen it touch down. They have a very easy access to pinpoint it. So you may well get a tornado warning if you are in, I hear Lisa, Channel 5 tell you this all the time. If you are in the area of Brentwood at Old Hickory Boulevard and Franklin Road, there's a tornado coming to you. It's 8:03. We expect it at 8:12. Take cover now. You really have that much of a pinpoint as to where it is, and you can watch it all day long, where the conditions are such that it's very dangerous. And yes, you need to get into your safe place. Again, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to find the safe place in any home or any situation. When I said there have been recorded since 1830, 469 tornadoes, you got to understand, this is talking about the 39 counties of Middle Tennessee. So when people think of Nashville, they think of Nashville as the entire Middle Tennessee. That's not the case. 39 counties of Middle Tennessee is where those tornadoes have occurred, somewhere in that, plus 3 counties that are actually in northern Alabama, because our Weather Bureau also takes into account from there too. So anyway, the point is we've got a little bit of Alabama in that, and that's where those tornadoes occurred. I haven't done the division, but that's really not a whole lot per year. Any of them is not good though, I understand. So each tornado kind of has a grade from F0 to F5. Once it's occurred, then the Doppler radar can show what the wind speed is. So it may be an F0 up to F5. Now, F does not mean furious index, is what I always thought it was. It means Fujiada index. An F0 means it's wind shears of 73 miles, up to 73 miles per hour. When that occurs, you're going to have branches fall, very shallow trees maybe being uprooted, signs coming down and being the wind shears. That's an F0. F3 means winds up to between 158 and 206 miles per hour. Those are severe, and that's when you're going to get maybe roofs peeled off, especially metal roofs pulled off of buildings, walls torn off, trees uprooted and picked up and moved, heavy cars picked up and thrown, so you never want to stay in your car. And F5 means incredible damage. That's wind shears up 261 to 318 miles per hour. That's when strong houses can be lifted off of their foundations totally. Cars picked up and thrown up to 109 yards, and trees totally debarked. I don't even know how they stand. But when you look at those ratios, that's a big, big, big difference. So in Middle Tennessee, winds are actually only an estimate based on the damage that is done in scientific evidence of those things. So there is no way of clocking winds technically, scientifically, to that extent, but that's what they're coming up with. Only once have we experienced in Middle Tennessee an F5 tornado. That was in 1998, and it occurred in Wayne County, Giles County, Maury County, and Lawrence counties. So what happens is a tornado may be spotted here and it may drop, but it then picks up and it runs in the atmosphere, and then it drops into another county. And so it doesn't continually stay on the ground. It picks up and drops. These are all, especially at that time, very, very rural counties. The largest tornado that we've ever experienced in Davidson County, which is where Nashville is, was in March of 1932. That was our largest one, and that was an F2. We experienced that in Davidson, Williamson County, and Wilson County. So let's talk about what's really important to you. What are the peak seasons? What are the peak times that we have this issue? Well, remember, it's back to cold air and warm air hitting each other. So it makes sense that we're likely to find tornadic activity in the early spring, March, April, and May. We've also experienced it in November, because we can often have very warm Octobers all the way up through. But it's again where you've got that collision of storms and wind and cold. So those are the peak months. Here in Nashville and all throughout the surrounding counties, they have put in a tornado warning system such that, say, I was outside just walking just then, had I heard a tornado sound, had there been tornado warnings in the area, you would hear a sound. So you've got warning, and we just got to learn not to ignore that warning. That warning means there is the possibility of strong, severe storms coming through, which could become tornadoes, and just be thinking about where you need to be for some safety. So let's talk about the very most important part to you, which is where the heck in your home are you going to go? Where do you go if you need to get to safety? Now, if you're outside in your car, the first thing to do is, if there's warnings, get out of your car. You just heard me say it takes, I think, an F3 that could pick up a car and hurdle it through space. So what you want to do is get out of your car. Get out of your car. If you are driving your car, say you're on the interstate, the best thing you can do is try to pull over underneath an underpass, because that underpass, if a tornado is running, it's going to pop it up. So if you're driving on the interstate, that would be the best thing you can do. If you don't see a heavy thing that would obstruct a moving tornado, then pull over and get in the lowest place you can find in surrounding terrain. If there's a ditch somewhere, get to the ditch, cover your head, and remain until it passes. And it passes fast. It's not a slow, long process. If you are out walking like I just was and you can get into a building, get into a building. Now, if you happen to be at home, then this is one thing I do with everybody, especially newcomers to the area, is we think about where would you be if there was a tornado warning? Where would you alert your family? Where would you all go? Because forewarned is the best thing possible. Pre-plan it. So let's take a look at some of the best places in a home to protect yourselves. So in the event of a tornado warning, the first thing you want to do is get away from all rooms that have windows. You need to get away from anything that could shatter, any glass that could shatter. Sometimes the safest place is going to be in a bathroom. If you have an interior bathroom, get into the bathroom. See, no windows. It's an interior hallway. This is the heaviest structure. In this home downstairs, possibly, I'll show you a better one. But the problem with this is there's no bathtub. I really want you inside down in a bathtub because you've got the strength of the walls, the deeper drywall board, and the tile. This powder room in an emergency would be not a bad spot, but it's probably not the best spot in this house. I'll show you the best one. Would be an interior closet. This is an interior closet with simply storage. But to get in here, it's under the staircase, so you have the protection of the staircase. Get into an interior storage, grab blankets, grab pillows, put them over your head. No matter where you are, where you end up, get something. Always be sure to give yourself the safety of covering your head, covering your children's head. I had small children, I'd cover them up. I would be squishing them in the bottom of a bathtub and making sure they were protected. So finding the safest place for you is always a good thing. Go ahead and have a plan. In this home, it was a storage place under the staircase. In any case, no matter what, think of where you would be. It's always going to be away from windows, as low as you can possibly get in the home. And if you have a basement, that's even better. But I will tell you, we very seldom have many basements here in the Nashville area unless the home was built 20s and 40s when people were digging out basements for a fallout shelter. Now, typically now we only have basements when the topography would call for one. So find that interior bathroom, get away from glass, find the strongest part of the structure of your home. May well be storage under a staircase, as in this house. But actually, in every house, we can find the safe spot. That's something to just check out and be planned. So I get questions all the time about tornadoes. They are scary, but I will tell you, in my entire life of being here, I've lived with one. I actually had some damage, and it was strictly structural to a roof of my parents' house back in the 1974. The wind shear came through, and it picked up the roof and knocked out several columns. Thankfully, the columns, the wind dropped it, and the two columns that remained held the roof up. But we have had a couple, and there were two recent in East Tennessee, the same trajectory, the same path. It was very, very strange. But thankfully, we all come together and work with it. So, yeah, we have tornadoes. We also have some great preparedness. So I think you'll be safe. Listen, if you want to know about all the other really icky, creepy, crawly things, I did a video to show you some of the things you might really want to watch out for that's far less devastating, but irritating. You want to check out that video. I'm Susan Thetford with Parks Properties and the Nashville Redefined show. I invite you to go ahead and subscribe here. I want to tell you the truth and the whole truth about living here in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area. If you're considering a move here, I think you should check it out.